This is our third video, and I did send the script to the students, so if you check your email, you can see that I have emailed you the text of what I'm going to be talking about for our class. I have been receiving your essays on Blackboard, and I know that you've been working on WordPress sites. I've been answering your emails about how to complete the ePortfolio on WordPress and the directions for the essays. I do need to update my grading, so I do have a list of things to grade. I've been grading the drafts of Essay 3 and the drafts of Essay 4 to return to students, so I still have a few that students have just sent me. It is the end of the course, so because the course is coming to an end, you do need to email me any questions, because I will be checking the final ePortfolio site on WordPress and downloading the final exams to grade them with the writing sample placement tests that I used for the midterm and for all of our essays. I would like you to make up all your work, post your outstanding assignments on Blackboard and WordPress, because the time has come for the semester to end. I would like to do a brief review of the course goals, and I will remind you that the class was designed to provide students with opportunities to grow as writers, also become more aware of student habits that are beneficial. We did do a review of note-taking and a lot of habits that are positive changes to make to get better grades and to be more relaxed in being a college student. So if you know more about student habits and you are aware of how to be a better writer, hopefully this will bring students more academic success. The assignments were designed for students to make a transition from informal writing to academic writing. And the textbook does have a lot of suggestions for students, which students tested on in the 6 quizzes. I have received a couple quizzes for Chapter 7 and Chapter 8. There is no quiz, so I did ask students to make up quiz questions to prove that they read the chapter. So Chapter 7 was about research and writing, and Chapter 8 was about research and writing, and so I hope that the information in the chapters will be helpful to the students. I did list here some assignments about our class, and so in the class for the first half of the semester, students wrote journals. I asked students to write progress reports, what you did well, what you didn't complete, describe your writing goals, describe your grammar goals. We did also those in the conferences. The journals were meant to help students write about whatever topic they chose. The topics I suggested were about student life and everyday life as a student, but students did write about other things that were important to them, which is fine. And there were a total of 15 journals. So Essay 1, the midterm, and Essay 2 focused on students writing strengths and weaknesses. I hope that students have become more aware of what they're good at so that they keep doing those things in future writing assignments, and that you develop habits and make up for your weaknesses or are aware of your weaknesses. Transitioning to college, being a good student, and having a good academic experience is very important so that you will graduate and move on to have a career. Essay 3 was an introduction to combining source information and your own ideas. So I did ask you to locate an argumentative article and summarize it. Second paragraph was your own opinion on the controversial issue, and the body was to discuss specific things in the article which you agreed or disagreed with. Essay 4 was about research projects, research habits. Two of the questions were about writing research papers or a report about a paper that you have done. And two of the other options were finding an article and discussing it, similar to Essay 3. If students are interested in doing the database article from the library databases, there is a handout in Essay 4 where there's an explanation for academic paragraphs, how to set up each paragraph academically so that the style of writing will be academic writing. A great deal of the mistakes that students made go unnoticed, and so part of the instruction in 150 is to focus on the errors, how to recognize your own errors so that you're not dependent on a tutor to find your mistakes for you. I did have the editing skills checklist, which is uploaded in Blackboard, and a couple of students have said they couldn't find it, so I emailed them the copy that I had. I did demonstrate this in the class, and so the left part is for student strengths, the right part is for student weaknesses, and copy specific sentences and make corrections. Find resources. The purpose of the checklist is really to prove that you are making an effort. And if you're not making an effort, then some students have not shown any progress. So it is necessary to focus on your mistakes in order to eliminate them. I did make comments on the journals that students sent me and the essays. I tried to use the numbers on the editing skills checklist, which focus specifically on the errors that you're making, the sentence structure mistakes, what is a punctuation mistake, if it's a verb ending mistake. All of those errors have a specific number. I did ask students to record examples of the mistakes, and if you made a mistake in comma splices, for example, take a look at an educational site on comma splices to see exactly what that is. Do some drilling on some practice exercises, take a practice quiz to try to focus on where your sentences can improve, not just to pass a grammar test. So you really want to understand how to write correctly so that your writing will be easier to read, more pleasant to read, and the reader will focus on the content and not surface errors that you've made. So students consulted their classmates when we did the peer reviews, in class and out of class. I did ask students to consult the tutors in the writing center. I did email students with the information for getting a tutor review because those tutors are still working online to review student papers. I have been reviewing student papers for them. Now I download the papers and try to make comments on them and return them to you by email. There was a diagnostic test which I emailed you. Some students who are a little bit late to focus on grammar, you can still do that in preparation for the final exam, which is ePortfolio Essay 3, trying to eliminate mistakes so that that paper will be more accurate and you'll get a score of 3 instead of a 1. finding out the name for the mistake is half the battle. So the answer key has the name of the mistake. So if you made a specific mistake, then the answer key will give you the name of that mistake. You can look it up instead of studying everything in grammar, only study the mistakes that you make. And so hopefully students will be making fewer mistakes than before and be more aware. Instruction doesn't really stop when the semester stops, so it will be in your mind how to edit, how to apply the lessons that you've learned in future assignments. So that is really page 1 of my notes. For page 2, I sent students an editing exercise with bolding in yellow. And, this is what we would have been doing in the classroom. The topic was, should texting and driving have the same penalty as drinking and driving? And this was one of the preview questions. Students write about texting and driving very easily. And so I collected some sentences of my former students, and usually I discuss those in the class in the overhead. How can you remove you to make a more formal sentence? Where is the forgotten semicolon, or where is the forgotten comma? Is there a verb mistake? So those are common mistakes that students might need a little bit more practice on. So I did send those 10 sentences from my students' essays on texting and driving. Anybody who didn't write the extra credit essay, you still have a chance. So this is a real question. You can write 450, 500 word essay on should the penalties for texting and driving be the same as drinking and driving. And students have different answers on that. Of course, texting is not a substance, so it's not like being intoxicated or high, but it is distracted driving. So distracted driving is not the same as being intoxicated. So for that reason, some students think it should not receive a heavier penalty, but the truth is that accidents do result in injury and death because of texting, as well as from drinking and driving or other types of substance abuse. So students have different opinions on that. They easily write that essay, so it's not too late to do the extra credit essay on that topic if you didn't like the other topics. Okay, so I do want to focus on the grades for the editing skills checklist, because although it's on Blackboard, if you check your grade book, it is clearly there. The editing skills checklist is worth 9 total points. So there are 3, analyze 3 different essays. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? The orange box is important. You write your own sentences to summarize how you did on each essay, what were your weaknesses and strengths, how you feel about your progress in writing. There is no separate 333 on the grade book in Blackboard, so some students were upset. It looks like your grade is 33 if you got a 3 on the first one, which is not really true. You did get 100 if you got 3 out of 3, but there's just no other space in the grade book. So I'll be updating when I receive editing skills checklist 2, editing skills checklist 3 to make up the 9 points. The 3 essays that you have received back are Essay 1, the midterm, and Essay 2. And I have made the suggestion that students can make comments in the editing skills checklist to talk about their draft as well. Looking at the mistakes in your draft and correcting them is a big step in making progress in self-editing. So seeing your mistake and figuring out how to eliminate it is half of the battle. So I did summarize that there's only 1 spot on Blackboard for 9 points, and that is for 3 checklists on 1 each of those essays. So some students have done their comments for all 3 essays on one spreadsheet with the Excel spreadsheet, and other students will be doing separate ones. Either one is fine as long as I know which essay you are analyzing. There is a comment on WordPress because students forget the purpose of WordPress. WordPress is a website which shows your writing progress over the 16-week period. So, you know, from Journal 1 to Journal 15, students do report good progress because they're in the habit of writing regularly. They're in the habit of checking their work and trying to be accurate in expressing their ideas. So, you know, the focus on the work that is posted in WordPress means focusing on improvement. What students need to do to improve, and are you more aware of it? And have you been able to focus on lesson points that will be helpful to you? I did email students the suggestions for Reflection Essay 1, 2, and 3. It is your own choice what you want to write in your paper. So we divide, really it's 15 weeks, so 5, 5, 5. Each chunk of time in the class period in the semester. What did you do? What do you think about it? So you are free to express your own opinions about it. Okay, so the first 10 points on WordPress were putting your own name, sending me the URL, allowing me to see your site, posting your introduction paragraph, posting your My Passion paragraph, making sure that student name is removed, and put your own name so it's clear when I click on the website or anyone else clicks on it who that person was that created the writing website. The template in WordPress that students downloaded has only 3 items in the menu. The 3 items are About Me, My Passion, and University 150. Students have figured out how to add pages and add the pages to the menu. We've got a lot of color, a lot of decoration on some of the web pages. I cannot grade you on web design because it's a writing class, and so you know some students really have done extra work to make a beautiful site, and I hope that that web design practice will help you if you do another website. The 3 parts were divided in, you know, Reflection Essay 1, Reflection Essay 2, Reflection Essay 3. So 5 journals should be below each essay. Like I said, if you only use those 3 reflection pages, on one page should be reflection essay, 5 journals, and editing checklist. Some students had trouble uploading their checklist, so you know, if it's uploaded correctly, I see a hot link on your page. It opens up to the Excel spreadsheet and I can see it. It's not foolproof. There's more than one way to do it. So if you get frustrated with trying to use Add Media and add the link for your spreadsheet, just email it to me. It's not worth getting frustrated about, but I do thank those students who were persistent in learning how to do it. The Reflection Essay 3, I will repeat, is the final exam. So I will be downloading Reflection Essay 3 in my own document so that I can paste the grading rubric below it. And this is one of your 3 chances to move on to English 110. On the last page of the notes, there is a section called Moving On, and I did explain how students can continue to move on to 110. So the first choice is try very hard to pass the midterm. If you got a score of 3, you're good to go for 110, although you still had to do a bunch of work, which will get you better prepared. The second choice is to receive a passing grade. And I'm not sure which ones of you have decided to take the P plus, P minus type of grade, or those students who wanted a letter grade. But for passing, it is a C or above. So a D would not qualify you to move on to 110 if you didn't pass the midterm. So if you didn't pass the midterm, you got a 1 on the midterm, and you're not doing well on the class, you should still finish your reflection essay 3 in WordPress, because if you receive a score of 3 on that, you will move on to English 110. So the last part of my notes explain the due dates. Our last class is technically April 23rd. And so, ODU semester ends and then exams begin. Your exam date is important because that is the date where I will go to WordPress, download the essays, type in any leftover grades into Blackboard, specifically ePortfolio Part 3. The 1:30 class, your exam is April 30th. The 3 o'clock class, the exam is April 29th. So you do need to know it is on the syllabus. It is on the university exam schedule. So being aware of your exam date is very important. For me, the time is not very important. I mean, technically, if you take your exam at 3:30, you finish, or you finish at 6:45, doesn't mean that I'm going to collect that at that minute. But it should be that day, and I will be checking the WordPress because it does take quite a bit of time to grade 40 essays, 20 for each class. So I hope that everyone has kept up with the assignments, checked the email, and I do plan to have office hours again Tuesday. So I said, 2 to 4 in the afternoon, I'll be in the email for ODU, and I can answer your questions right away at that time. Otherwise, it seems like I'm on the computer all day checking email and trying to answer your questions. So I know it's not easy to be a remote student, and it's not easy to be a writing student either. So it takes a lot of patience, but being able to record your ideas, express your ideas in writing is important. So I do hope that students took advantage of some of the instruction and did some research into how to grow as a writer, which is really the purpose of the class. So thanks for listening, and I'll be checking my email for your questions. Talk to you later.